Yeah, Sam Youngman is here. Look at him. He's
What's up, buddy?
broken. He's broken, but he is here. He has a surfing injury.
It's true, but I've been broken for a long time.
Well,
Uh, yeah, yeah. No, I tore my MCL surfing a couple weeks ago, so I'm out of commission for a little bit. But bad news for Republicans and everybody who knows me is that my mouth works just fine.
yes, and I'm happy that it does, and the newsletter continues to publish. But I got to ask you, have you developed any opinions? Have you had any experiences with the healthcare system as a result?
Yes, in that I feel enormously lucky to have the health care that I have.
Right.
It's been, I've been very fortunate and been reminded how many people are not, especially after Senate Republicans decided today that everybody can just live with higher premiums. So yeah, no, I've been feeling very lucky. I tell you, as I'm going through physical therapy and stuff like that, it's just a really good reminder that you can take care of yourself. You can do everything you're supposed to do, and shit still happens because we're made out of meat sacks. And the idea that Republicans are pushing that just don't get sick is not a is not a healthcare
Yeah.
plan.
Well, one of the ways to not get sick, one of the many ways to try to stay healthy is to exercise. And
Mhm.
it's not irrational for someone with a bad health insurance or no health insurance to not be active, to do
Mhm.
things that they love to do for fear that you might get hurt. And so it's such a bizarre thing to be discouraged against riding a bike or skiing or any number of things where you could get injured, or just running, needing some kind of surgery on your back or your knee. But that's the case. That's America. It ain't Australia or Canada, which is why they're in a lot better shape, I argue.
Yeah, no, they also don't have a Health and Human Services secretary who's like taking shots of Drano and then dry humping parking cones. So I mean, there's a lot of things we could be doing differently if we actually gave a shit about the health of our citizenry. That's for sure.
Do you think that it's a good idea, however, criticize him if you want, RFK Jr. and Sean Duffy, but the idea of putting jungle gyms in airports, you travel a good bit. Don't you think that's a good idea?
I think that was thrown out at the bad idea factory, and even they were ashamed of it. I got to tell you, I stay mad at the media, but not one reporter asked, "Hey, how many airport personnel were pulled away from their jobs so you assholes could do pull-ups here in the damn terminal of the airport?"
Mm.
It's wild to me. I think I always believed that if things got crazy enough, Americans would see it with their own eyes and they would start to say, "Hey, this looks crazy." The sight of these two idiots doing chin ups in the airport, one of the idiots who usually works out in jeans, when he's not arm wrestling his brain worm. I mean, if this doesn't do it, if people can look at that and go, "It seems normal, seems fine," then what is there? What is left?
I think a lot of people did, though. It was impossible to measure. I think a lot of us did look at that and go, well, that's crazy. I don't also this transportation secretary Sean Duffy apparently is in charge of NASA and everything. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
He's been encouraging people to dress nicer at the airport, which
Mhm.
a weird thing for government to tell you how to dress when you travel, much less how
Yeah.
to eat or how to
Fucking
exercise.
socialist. Yeah, no, it's outrageous. I've been silently protesting. I have only flown crotchless the last few days.
Right, right.
I'm sending a message.
I
And
wear one of those blankets with sleeves.
yes, I wrote "fuck Sean Duffy" on the old taint. And yeah, it's yeah. No, what's funny is the push-ups were so bizarre that it sort of pushed away the actual craziest part, which was RFK talking about breastfeeding, talking about baby formula. And I'm not going to do an impression because, frankly, I would hate for that to live on the internet forever. Um, but if you miss having nightmares, or you just need some new trauma in your life, I highly recommend checking out the video of Drano Throat fucking talking about mother's milk. Yeah, it's terribly upsetting.
It's so crazy. Also on the vaccine board, it's like a who's who of cartoon villains. And
Yeah.
I bet you if we could see them, and I think you could, there's video, I think, of them trying to decide whether or not they should vaccinate babies for things like Hep B. They're wearing like cartoon villain outfits, probably. Like I just can't, they're the craziest scientists or doctors, are not even necessarily. So one of the people that gave a slideshow for the conference apparently was just a lawyer that RFK Jr. knew or something like that. He wasn't even in front of a bunch of scientists. It's so weird how you have all of these posers who aren't qualified standing in front of the most qualified people in the world, whether it's Health and Human Services, Department of Defense, like so many of the people in the regime that are running the show have no qualifications. The arrogance and audacity that they have even addressing these groups is something to marvel at.
No, I agree. It's it's horrifying to watch. I mean, they might as well have given a seat on the board to measles. Uh, I I tell you, it's funny to me. I want to meet people who are like, that Dr. Fauci was just way too qualified. Have you seen the bright red, roided out freak show who's doing, pull ups in his jeans at Muscle Beach? That's the guy I want to take health advice from. I don't get it. I don't think I ever will.
Next, I'd like to hear from Rubella. Go ahead.
Hey, it doesn't make your mother's breast milk is not as good as me. You
would
can
like
see
to
how somebody would
introduce-
throw away their whole career for that. I mean, it's pretty fucking hot.
It's worth it. It's absolutely worth it. Oh man. All right. Well, that's I think we covered a little bit on health as a result of your own injury, but I have to ask you about defense, which also could be described as health. I've always said if you're more afraid of a terrorist attack than a heart attack, you've been duped. But we are now being convinced to be worried about boats in the southern hemisphere that have outboard motors that are not coming to America at all, and we're blowing them up. This has been one of the biggest stories for a couple weeks now, and I think that's good. I think it's really good. Unfortunately, a lot of Americans for years now have not cared about people that they think they hate or that they think are bad being anywhere from tortured to murdered on the high seas. That seems to be the case now with plenty of those in charge from Hegseth on down. What do you make of the story? What do you make of the longevity and relevance of it? And what do you think? Where do you think we're going here? Are we going to, hopefully get testimony from Hegseth himself? Isn't he going to have to answer tough questions from Republicans? He's not going to look so tough.
I mean, he should. Yeah, I'm like you. I am thrilled that murder is still a hard line for a lot of people on Capitol Hill. Not so much Tom Cotton. I feel like every time Tom Cotton talks, it's to say one of two things: either jail Americans or kill Americans. Either way, not somebody who should be in the U.S. Senate. Look, man, Trump and Hegseth are killing people. They're doing it without a trial. They're doing it without much evidence. And the fact that there is outrage, the fact that there is pushback, gives me a hell of a lot of hope. Because I'll tell you, a few months ago, I would have thought that this would have just gone by without a peep. So the fact that lawmakers care, the fact that reporters care, I think is a damn good sign that that the American heart, while beating faintly, is still very much there.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well said. I think that's one way of looking at it and putting it. What do you think about the rest of the kind of beating war drums to potentially Venezuela? Yesterday, they grabbed an oil tanker, which seems like a pretty big escalation. What do you think?
I mean, the more I looked into the oil tanker thing, the more it seemed like just a normal thing we do when we think oil is being smuggled to Iran. The problem is, it's when Trump talks about it, it sounds so fucking crazy. If Trump said, "Hey, we're going to put a 500 tall foot green woman in the in the harbor at New York," you'd be like, "That's fucking crazy." And then you remember Statue of Liberty, and it's like, we've gotten so trained that this guy is such an unhinged lunatic that even when he tries to say something normal, it's utterly terrifying. Tanker notwithstanding, you're right. The drums of war are being beaten as we speak. You and I are of an age where we were on the scene or coming onto the scene when the Iraq war drums were beating. I remember then just starting out as a journalist thinking, surely everybody can see that there's no reason to do this. But they really did the full court press to lie to us. They even sent Colin Powell to the UN with those bullshit videotapes to lie to us and convince us that this was about the war on terror, that this was about freedom, and this was about ending Saddam Hussein's tyranny. Now, horseshit. Trump and the Republican Party now, they're not even bothering to lie to us. It's about oil. I mean, they're trying to lie to us and say it's about drugs, but we know better. I don't know. I've got the same question I always have when we do this shit. Which one of their kids is going to be the first one on the ground?
Well said.
Is Barron Trump registering for the army? Is he enlisting as we speak?
I don't think so. I think
he's probably too busy playing with Andrew Tate online.
Yeah, what was that all about? That there's reporting that he was in contact or in touch with Andrew Tate, Barron Trump.
I mean, I guess when your daddy's a rapist, it's not that big a deal to hang out with other rapists, right?
I mean, yes, that's a pretty good way of seeing it. All right, let's go from defense to the economy. Man, shit is
we're on a roll.
Bleaker and bleaker for the economy. Prices are up. It's impossible to deny it. Apparently, there's been thousands and thousands of job losses every month for the last 3 months. We don't really know exactly what's going on because the Department of Bureau of Labor Statistics is not publicly putting out statistics, which is a weird thing because I thought that's what they did, but the regime doesn't want people to know how bad it's gotten. I guess markets are still doing pretty well. They think maybe this AI bubble is not a bubble, not yet, but I don't think we should be measuring the health of the economy ever by someone's 401k, not necessarily. And so what do you know, Trump is out there. He was out there touting it, doing one of his dumb rallies, I guess. But you can't lie to people that the economy is A+++, as he said. You just can't. Everybody knows how everything is still expensive and getting more expensive.
Yeah. I mean, the sort of Trump's defining philosophy when it comes to bad news is if I don't see it, it's not real, right? So that's why we don't get the GDP to report anymore. That's why we don't get the PPI inflation report anymore. And it's why we're not getting, excuse me, CPI. And it's why we're not getting jobs reports anymore because the economy is terrible. Because like every single economist warned, tariffs are stupid. And they made everything, they're a tax on Americans. They've made everything more expensive. And so we're seeing the AP has Trump's approval on rating on the economy at 36%. Excuse me, 31%. It's 36% approval overall, 31%. Do you realize when George Bush left office, his overall approval rating was around 32%? Now, this was after a global financial collapse and an illegal war that nobody wanted. So yeah, Trump is in W territory. And not in a good way. You say that you can't lie forever, that people will see the truth. I think that's probably right. But I thought that during COVID too. And I was shocked by how many people were willing to invent their own truth because they couldn't handle the actual one. So, you know, those of us on Earth, it's a no-brainer. Of course, shit's more expensive. I keep thinking maybe the White House press should have raised a few more red flags when this asshole kept talking about building an economy from the 1800s. You know, I don't know that China was doing that. They kind of stayed here in 2025. So maybe it should have been a bigger concern that the president was promising to take us back a couple hundred years.
Yeah, it's a bizarre thing to promise, but it's a good point to bring up COVID and the reactions from people on the right, obviously, and what it meant for the results of the election of 2020. I mean, arguably it's why Blob Vila didn't get reelected. But I think that this is probably, sadly, it's worse for him because I argue that there's a huge percentage of Americans that do not care about other people. Call them whatever you want. They might even be sadists. They might enjoy the suffering of other people. But so they might not care about someone getting sick and dying of COVID, even if it's someone that they love. They might not blame the administration, but they do care about how much shit costs at the grocery store and how much cars cost and how much energy costs and specifically the cost of their healthcare. They're trying to say that Democrats and liberals are somehow more reliant on something like Obamacare, which is not the case. Plenty of people in red states are arguably more, or Medicaid. Again, plenty of people in red states depend. So with your price of healthcare and everything else going up, it would seem to be probably more impactful, is what I'm saying, than COVID was even.
I'm not sure I understand.
People being like how much they blame Trump for COVID
Oh, I see. Yeah, just
versus
shit costing more. Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. It's like it's an immovable object, right? It's that thing that Trump runs into every once in a while where he can invent his own reality. I mean, there's a reason his numbers are falling apart. Even on the right, we're seeing more and more. I mean, Fox News polls on the economy are showing Republicans are in revolt. Um, yeah, I mean, look, people know when the economy is good, they know when it's not. And, we had a vibes based economy during the Biden years, and that's not going to stop. People aren't buying the stats, they're not buying the lies, they're buying, what they see at the grocery store.
people won't know about this, probably the general public, but we pay attention to it. Obviously, $12 billion bailout for farmers as a result of the administration itself destroying their markets.
Hmm.
Imagine if that were a Biden presidency or any Democrat that caused an entire industry, specific part of an industry, soybean, corn farmers, whatever, to lose access to their markets to the point that all the rest of us had to bail them out with $12 billion. I feel like there should be a lot more outrage,
Yeah,
even
I agree.
including from farmers, some of which are getting that bailout and still support Trump. I have no forgiveness for those people. But what do you say about that bailout caused by that hole in the economy caused by the tariffs? And then they said, by the way, we wouldn't be able to give them the $12 billion if not for the money that the tariffs are taking in. It's how.
Yeah. I mean, keep in mind, this is the second time he's had to do this. He did it
Yes.
during the first administration too. So that's why I don't feel sorry for the farmers. They knew he was going to fuck them, and they voted for him anyway.
Yeah.
Here's my plea to those farmers: you've got your welfare money, you've got our money in your pocket. Don't spend it on drugs. Don't spend it on junk food. Don't spend it at the arcade. Okay? Be responsible. We don't want you sitting on the couch playing video games all day. Okay? Get back to farming. That's how that's supposed to work, right? If somebody needs help, you shame the shit out of them and question their lifestyle habits. Isn't that the way this works?
I think that's really well done. I would question your incentive for them not to go to the arcade.
Is that a little dated?
I just feels a little dated. Like, won't they just sit home and play video? Like, I don't think they're gonna like, some big
don't
old
don't don't
farmer
go to the discotheque. Yeah, don't.
just. I gotta ask, did you see? There's a bunch of hearings on Capitol Hill today. Kristi Noem was up there with her face. It doesn't move. There's this guy, FBI National Security Operations Director. I don't know if you saw these clips.
Yeah, dude, the Antifa guy.
This guy is basically, and this is really important. We got to make fun of him, but like, when Republicans come in and get in charge of the Department of Justice, much less the FBI, all of a sudden, the enemies change, right? It becomes political. And basically what he said today in his testimony is that the greatest domestic terrorist threat was Antifa. And then later was asked about the Proud Boys and why they were being taken off this list of extremists. And he said he basically didn't even know who they were. So white supremacists, extremists, Christian white nationalists are now working in the government. He's probably one of them. And they are no longer targeting violent extremists that have caused a lot more problems, more crimes, and murdered more people than anyone that is even remotely affiliated with Antifa, which I don't know if anybody remotely affiliated with Antifa has killed anyone. And so what do you make of their priorities? What do you make of that guy's testimony today?
Yeah, I mean, the Proud Boys are in the building. I mean, he can't condemn violent right-wing extremists because he works for them. I mean, the reality is Trump has had Proud Boys around him since becoming president again. He's sent a lot of mixed messages since he became president again. But one thing he's been very clear about is that if you commit violence on his behalf, he's got your back. He's pardoned more people than any other president, but still the largest chunk of those people are January 6th scumbags. We're talking about people who, since that pardon, have been charged with child porn and tried to argue that the pardon covered that. Domestic abuse. I mean, just the scum of the earth. And we also know that some of them work for DOJ. I mean, it's the reality. We put the bad guys in power, and now they're doing what bad guys do.
He just pardoned some guy who defrauded investors to the tune of billions. I think that one of the worst crimes you can commit, the worst nonviolent crime that you could commit, is taking someone's savings. To me, that's one of the most evil, horrible thing. People kill themselves sometimes when someone scams them like that. My daughter was scammed out of $5,000. Generous listeners actually when it did a GoFundMe amazingly
Oh, that's nice.
and made her whole. This was a few years ago. She's still traumatized by that. And as you would be, she worked so hard 2 summers to make that money, to save that money, and then gone in the blink from a scammer. Trump just pardoned a guy who'd scammed people. I can't find his name here, but what like, I don't know. What's your reaction to that? How do you?
Oh, I'm with you. It makes me fucking sick. I mean, a court goes through the process of ordering restitution in the name of justice, and then Trump says, "Fuck that" and "fuck the victims." I don't know if you saw this, but recently pardoned George Santos, who was given a free pass on paying the restitution and millions of dollars to the people he scammed. Well, he had himself a nice holiday party in D.C. last night, and several Republican members of Congress showed up, including Congressman Tim Burchett from Tennessee. And Burchett was quoted as saying, "I'm glad he got pardoned. That was a hell of a party." I don't think Tim's all that worried about the people that George
So
Santos fucked
gross.
over. No, it's disgusting. I mean, these are the people, to me, this has always been the greatest sin of Trumpism, is that he hurts the people who love him because he doesn't care about them. You look through his past, who was signing up for Trump University, who was buying Trump steaks, who was buying Trump vodka. It was all his supporters, and they're the people he fucked over first.
Oh, yeah.
So we might hate him, but that's a good thing for us, because if we loved him, he'd be screwing us up over even more.
Yeah, everybody who ordered a Trump phone that still hasn't gotten it, like back in the summer, NBC News did a
I
follow
saw
up.
that. Yeah.
By the way, that guy's name was David Gentile, and he was prosecuted by the Trump administration. Apparently, $1.6 billion scheme, 10,000 investors, 10,000 investors were defrauded,
Yeah.
and he also waived the fines that he had to pay.
Yeah. No, he does that with all these people. Says you don't have to do the restitution. It's sick. I tell you what it is. It's adding insult to injury.
There's no way, by the way, someone's not paying for these pardons. They're paying, and
Oh, I mean, there have been quite a few examples of, somebody's mom goes to Mar-a-Lago and then she writes a check for 1.3 million to the library, and then a week later her son gets a pardon. I mean, it's not even being hidden that well. And frankly, I think if and when we retake the House next year, I'd really like to see some hearings on this, because I think it's something that moves the needle with the American people. It's so blatant in its corruption. I think by and large, we are a merciful people, and we believe in second chances, but not like this, not the kind of shit he's doing.
Last thing I really wanted to obviously get your take on is the other issue that really hasn't left the news, because every day we see images of people, overwhelmingly black and brown, being snatched and chased on the streets and kidnapped by masked agents. It is our worst nightmare, and it is every day. It is happening. Again, it's mostly happening to those communities. It is inspiring to see white folks and everywhere from Minneapolis to Chicago to elsewhere standing up for these people, standing in front of cars and using their privilege to protect them. So I'm inspired by the reaction of everyday Minnesotans, those in Minneapolis. I've been really inspired by that. But what do you make of the latest development, another story that's been in the news for a couple weeks now, because we have had such an unprecedented attack? Really, it used to be a little bit quieter, behind closed doors, shithole countries. Now he's being way out and basically calling
Garbage.
And the reaction to it, and the reaction to what they're trying to do to those folks there. I mean, just saw today the Minneapolis police chief apologized to a young man who during his lunch break got kidnapped and then released, of course. What do you make of all what's happening to the Somali community, the language being used about him, and how much does that matter?
I mean, it makes me sick to my stomach. I'll tell you, though, I'm somewhat encouraged by it, and I'll tell you why. Trump is losing it. He's losing control. He's losing his leverage. He's losing his power. And the more he loses that, the more openly racist he gets, the more openly gutter he gets. Ilhan Omar, when did this come? When did this become a thing? When did Somalians do something to this country to offend it? They didn't. It just, we need a person of color to attack because the midterms are coming up and we're fucking losing. I'll tell you, right before we came on the air today, the Indiana State Senate voted on redrawing the congressional maps. You know, Trump has been twisting arms, threatening them for weeks. This morning, the Heritage Foundation, Heritage Action, put in a tweet. We have made it clear, the president has made it clear to Indiana Republicans that if they don't pass this, that means no more road funding, no more federal funds. That's extortion. It's just flat out extortion. And you know what? Indiana Senate Republicans voted against Trump. It went down, and not by a small margin either. 21-19, just Republicans. That's not the overall vote. That's just the Republican caucus, 21-19. Trump is losing his juice and he's freaking out about it. And the more he freaks out, the more we see what a real asshole he is.
That's a huge development today. Top line news: Indiana lawmakers rejecting Trump's new political map. I actually didn't see that, but I think that the point that you just made is the most important point. I've heard others making it. He's getting weaker and weaker, lame, duckier, and more. And we see Republicans standing up to him for the first time. Marjorie Taylor Greene and other House members, some of them retiring, obviously, but being outspoken and calling themselves America First, not MAGA. There is a fracture in the MAGA movement, and a lot of people are talking about it and covering it. So let me just ask you that before I let you go. Nick Fuentes clearly leading that fracture, mainstreaming his ideas. And you're not necessarily seeing the kind of pushback you would imagine from Groper, Cleveland, or a lot of other leading Republicans. So what do you make of this fracture, and how do you kind of
that's so good. I hadn't heard that one before. Look, it's real right now. On every election I covered, I would always look at the polling after a primary just to see how fractured the parties were. And one of the better examples I can think of was when Rand Paul beat Mitch McConnell's handpicked candidate for the United States Senate in a primary. And if you looked at the polling right after that, it showed, I think, like 40% of Republicans saying they would never vote for Rand Paul. On election day, it was something like 97% of Republicans voted for Rand Paul. It's sort of like the pussies in the House who are like, "Hey, we're going to vote against Trump this time," and then at the end they cave. So I'll believe it when I see it. But I'd say today is very encouraging. I mean, I think a lot of these folks are remembering they want careers beyond 3 years from now. And they're just acknowledging, a simple reality of American politics, in that whatever's happening today, the backlash will be happening tomorrow. I think a lot of people dug early graves for themselves in the first few months of this year by assuming this shit would last forever. I don't know if you saw this or not, but Caroline Leavitt was asked today about the Band-Aids on the back of Trump's hand. And she said, we've told you this, it's about shaking hands. That's an obvious lie. And you know who told us that lying about the president's health is a worse scandal than Watergate? Jake Tapper. Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson and several other journalists spent the first few months of this year telling us that the president's health was the most important issue there was. He called Laura Trump and apologized to her. He went on Megyn Kelly's show. So many of these people, from corporate America to the media, were trying to position themselves to get into Trump's good graces based on a single election result, thinking this would last forever. Well, it's not lasting forever. The tide is turning, and a lot of those people are going to end up with egg on their face.
Do you not think the bruise on his hand is because he shakes so many people's hands? And if it is, how weak is that?
I know, what a delicate little flower he is. It's no, I don't think it's from shaking hands. Frankly, I don't even know why it would be the back of your hand that got bruised.
You don't press your fingers into the back of someone's hand when you shake their hand. You don't.
That's just normal, right? And then you stick a knee in their belly. That's just how normal people shake hands. It's
All right. I'll let you go, Sam. I love talking to you. Is there anything else before I go? Did you see the Kennedy Center honors? Did you like that? You must have been excited to see some of your favorite artists being honored.
Yeah. I've never been a Kiss fan, but that's especially true now. They can kiss my ass. It's Gene Simmons seems like a truly terrible person. I really wish nothing but the worst to him.
The people making fun of Sylvester Stallone's hair, I was there for all of that. I think Stallone accepted the honor. He's a Trump supporter, I think, but I think he also didn't want to be seen. So all the pictures I saw, Stallone was standing behind Trump.
He's like Gretchen Whitmer. Yeah.
Exciting.
Hey, Pete, if you don't mind, if you'll indulge me for a second, just before we go, it's the holidays, man. I know a lot of people are having a hard time, especially if they're alone or if they're missing somebody. I'm taking every chance I can to remind people that the crisis hotline number is 988. If you need to talk to somebody, please call that number. We want you here. We need you here. The world's a better place with you in it. So please call that number if you need to.
Love that. Thank you for saying that. I'm going to edit it out.
It's like you work for RFK. What the fuck, man?
No,
you're jockeying for a position on the CDC board.
I just support a different crisis hotline. I get paid by a different one.
It's like, yes, I'm really down and I don't know if I can make it. Sir, this is how you prepare a butterball turkey.
I'm really struggling and I just don't know. So you called Apple, the computing company, not, oh. But we'd like to help you. That's the kind of, that's a very thoughtful thing to do. And you're absolutely right. And I should mention it every day as well on my show. Sam, always a pleasure to have you. Get better soon.
Thanks, man.
In case you missed it, he tore his MCL surfing while saving a baby seal, though. So it wasn't for nothing. Yeah. And we hope you're back on the board soon. And I'm very grateful to have you whenever we get you. Thank you very much, my friend.
Pete, you're the best. Thanks so much for having me on, man.
Thanks for everybody watching live. Go subscribe to The Alt Media. If you haven't already, these guys are kicking ass. Go subscribe right now. And I'm at patreon.com/Pete Dominic, or else I can't talk to people like Sam. Bye-bye.